The issue of teacher compensation impacts educators across the board. However, when it comes to science teachers, especially teachers in high-need schools, those financial challenges go beyond what the typical teacher might face. James Brown is in studio now with more on the NSTA's new position statement about teacher compensation. Pleasure to have you today.
Great to be here. We're breaking some new ground.
We are. This is very exciting. The new position statement we'll get to in just a second. But first, I want to take a step back, and can you kind of lay the groundwork for us on where do science teachers fall when it comes to nationwide pay?
Just below average is where I'd start. Wow. So the nationwide average for all Americans working, about 180 million people, is about $65,000 a year. Science teachers is more like 60, so a little less than the average person working in the economy.
Wow. So many science teachers have supplemental degrees, certifications, they've been through additional training programs. Would that not automatically be grounds for higher wages?
It already does. It already is grounds in many school districts where the systems of paying teachers are based upon the level of experience, years of service, and their level of degree attainment, but it doesn't differentiate between a science teacher and other specialties in schools.
So when we talk about a shortage of science teachers, the snowball effect that can have is a shortage of STEM workers. We're talking healthcare workers, IT workers. What can you tell us about that?
Well, there's nothing more important to a child's learning experience than having a great teacher. And if you can't get people into the classroom that have really first-class skills in teaching science, then you're going to have less kids inspired to go into science, technology, engineering, and math careers.
So what you were alluding to earlier is the NSTA's new position statement when it comes to teacher compensation. What can you tell us about that statement in particular?
Because there's really a crisis in making sure we attract and retain the best teachers to teach science. Let me illustrate why that is. If you get a degree in chemistry and you become a high school chemistry teacher, your average salary is going to be about $61,000 a year. If you get a degree in chemistry and you work in the chemistry industry, your average salary is going to be about $80,000 a year. And that gap is growing. So unless we change our policies so that we allow that kind of expertise to choose to be in the classroom and not sacrifice to be in the classroom, we're going to lose more and more talent that way.
Is science teacher retention already a problem?
It's definitely a problem. Science teachers are right up there with special educators as the highest shortage areas across the entire United States.
Why do you think that is?
It's the same reason, actually, because specialized schools and classrooms are competing with specialized schools in the rest of the economy.
So what do you hope will happen with this new position statement?
I hope it gives science supervisors and state leaders and district leaders another reason to re-examine how they're recruiting and retaining science teachers. Most of those rules are set at the state level, so some of this is going to require changes in legislation, but it really starts with school boards and individual schools making a decision to say, let's pay science teachers what they're worth so we can get the best ones.
Are you worried at all about any potential negativity or any blowback from the entire education world about advocating specifically just for science teachers' wages?
You know, with any change in education, you're going to have people on both sides of the issue, but one of the things I'll say is we're living in a time where the rate of change in education in particular is massive, so ideas that might have seemed a little more risky or a little new a couple of years ago don't seem so risky or so new now.
Final question for you. What is your advice to maybe a struggling teacher right now who might be considering a career change because they just can't make ends meet?
You know, I think there's lots of folks like that in the U.S. economy right now, so we're all sort of struggling with a changing economic climate. But one of the things I will say is, if we're going to build stuff in the United States again, we have to build a science teacher workforce to educate people to build stuff.
Great advice. James, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Looking for more science education content? Click right here to find the NSTA TV playlist and enjoy.